We are a team. As storytellers and dreamers,
there is always magic to discover.
Once upon a time,
a Las Vegas showgirl
and a comedian magician,
figured out that even with different perspectives,
our adventures and experiences together
are really just
one big
caper. Welcome back to One Big Caper. I am Felix. This is my partner Athena, and I'm introducing us and saying welcome back at the same time, which seems a little strange. We decided on one of a long list of topics, but this one comes up from time to time and allows us to give you a little insight into our relationship with each other as a topic, but I think there will be some infused advice in here, yes?
Yeah, probably.
The topic is road trips.
And relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Felix has a contention about this particular topic.
I do, which is a perfect way to start.
Yeah.
Of all of the services I provide and don't advertise, one of those is that I officiate weddings. Mm-hmm. And as a wedding officiant, I insist that it's a customized ceremony every single time I write it. I interview the to-be-married couple, of course, and I don't know how many weddings I've done at this point, but it has been a pretty 50-50 combination of perfect strangers versus people whom I already know. But my job in these cases is not to determine compatibility so much as to just get information about these people. I am not trying to make any kind of prediction as to whether or not it's going to be a permanent, blissful wedding, but I always ask every time, have you been on a road trip together? Any kind of road trip. And I think it's an important exercise in determining your ability to spend time together in a very confined space.
To be coupled.
To be coupled, yeah.
In the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really a measure and a test, and we have been on a road trip.
Yeah. Couple.
Yeah, a couple of them.
A couple.
And some other more adventurous trips that put us in confined spaces for long periods of time.
Yeah.
But even early on in our relationship, we drove across this country's largest state.
Yes.
All the way back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was a fun trip.
It was a really fun trip. There were some odd bits about it, but...
As you're going to share in your juicy bit, yeah?
Yes.
So that particular trip. So I feel like this episode could be just about that trip, right? And then maybe a little bit of future ones we took.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. And then our things we learned along the way, I guess. Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So that particular trip, I was performing in the Texas Burlesque Festival, and it was early on in our relationship, and being separate from each other, except for because we lived in separate apartments at the time. It was like, oh no, you should come, or I don't know if it was you should come or I want to come with you type of thing.
I had a show right before then scheduled for New Mexico.
Oh, that's right.
I performed in Santa Fe, so I drove to Santa Fe to do my show, and the timing worked out that I could then drive on to Austin, Texas to meet you.
Yeah. Okay, I'm recalling this. And it just makes the juicy bit even more funny to me. Because he wanted to get there in time for me to do my performance in the festival.
Yeah.
So
there was a long part of our relationship where, and I guess this is where being an entertainer is very different from most other jobs, in that we went to work with each other, essentially. I was the burlesque husband and hauling a ridiculous chair that was part of Athena's set for one of her acts. Or
if you want to see that act, it's on my website.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to be a member.
There were occasions where, as an assistant, I was helping move costuming or building props, or both in the case of the balloon suit, and inflating. How many balloons?
I think I did 32.
Yeah, so
40 was too many. 32.
Nevertheless,
Anyway.
Athena has also accompanied me on a number of my shows and been in the audience for a lot of the juicy bits that you'll hear in these episodes. We were there with each other.
Yeah.
Not always, but we were there with each
Yeah.
other.
But yeah, so I flew out there, and then he drove up to meet me, and then so we did our work stuff first, and then proceeded to drive home and do a road trip home. And I love road trips. I don't think a lot of people do, or maybe don't take a lot of road trips. You'll have to. I mean, the couples, when you ask them if they've ever been on a road trip together, how often do they say, what do you mean?
Most often they have not.
Really?
And that's I when I get that response and they tell me that they have not been on a road trip together, I stress that they should probably give that a shot.
Yeah, do a little staycation or something like.
It's a test. It can be a friendly test. It's not like you really learn somebody. You're confined to a space. You learn about whether or not they insist on loud music all the time. You learn whether or not they're willing to stop if you see some bizarre roadside attraction. It's a good test of compatibility, I think.
Yeah, because if you're living together, it's like a whole different thing, and I'm sure there's like those growing pains of living together.
Oh yeah,
but
always.
it's just so different. Like when Felix said this to me once, I was like, "Oh, you're right. You're totally right."
It's a big test.
It's a big test. Yeah. Even if you're not thinking about getting married, maybe if you're thinking about moving in together, maybe a road trip would be a good idea, just to test. Like, can I deal with this person in my living space? I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. No. I feel like it was a good test, and I think we passed, and I think.
Oh sure, yeah, we were fine.
Yeah. No.
We were fine.
Yeah.
I didn't really question whether or
No.
not we would be fine, but I was fully aware that we're driving across not only very large states or a couple. We had to go through 3 states, but it's hot down there, and we were there in the summertime, so we had that little challenge to contend with.
It wasn't summertime.
It was what time of year?
April.
Springtime, early spring. Yeah, that's not as unpleasant as it could be.
It could be really unpleasant in Austin.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we weathered that storm, and we had a great time.
Yeah.
We even stopped at we saw it was a country road, and there were a lot of country roads on that trip. There was a lot of no scenery, but there was an abandoned house that we stopped at. Do you remember
That was fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
We still have some of those pictures.
I know.
It's creepy.
I have been partnered with other people who would have absolutely not stopped or had any curiosity or anything. So
I think it was a good photo opportunity.
It was,
People
yeah.
do that. What is it? The urban.
exploring.
The Urbex people,
Yeah.
and they go and they take beautiful photos of things that are decaying, that are falling apart. That
Sure.
There's no more life in there. KonMari, or Marie Kondo, she says that when things stop being used, the energy starts to I don't know that it's leaking out of it, but it just
It loses
it
its
loses
life.
its life, its purpose for living. So like when you see houses, old barns and old structures that no one lives in anymore, no one owns and is taking care of them, they just fall apart.
There's
really
a strange
fast.
beauty to them, but I guess that's
Yeah.
certainly a matter of taste. But
Oh, yeah.
we discovered that we both appreciate that.
It was, when we really started learning that we both like adventures, I think.
Yep.
I think that was, yeah. I mean, the way the adventure started, 2 shows, your show, my show, traveling by different means to get there, to meet in the middle.
Yeah, so Athena flew directly to Austin and bought a one-way ticket knowing that I would drive us back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I think it's time for a juicy bit, because this is, I think, my favorite part of this entire trip. So this had been my second year performing at that festival, and the first year I found a lovely Airbnb. It was like $35 a night. It was a ridiculous amount to be paying for.
That's pretty affordable.
is pretty affordable. And the woman who owns the Airbnb is a lovely artist. She does all kinds of arts. She just makes music, and I can't remember. It's some sort of media. It's a visual art. She's also a visual artist, and she sleeps on her couch and basically rents out her bedroom.
When she has a guest, she will just sleep
she'll
on
sleep
the sofa.
On the sofa. And so I loved her energy. I loved that I was helping support her. You know, she could do her art, rent out her, or sublet her space, basically, is probably what she was doing, and still be able to do her art. So I was supporting her as an artist, which we talked about in our last episode. But I immediately, when I got booked to perform in the festival the following year, I immediately looked to see if I could secure the same Airbnb for that. I think it was only one night we stayed there, and then we switched to a hotel or something. I can't remember exactly how it worked, but I was just like, you're not even going to be there the whole night. You're going to get there late or whatever, really early morning. Just come. Yeah, let's just do this.
We've had this talk with our teenagers about accommodations and traveling and that kind of thing, and we were trying to describe a youth hostel and how it's an affordable way, because it's true, you don't spend a lot of time in your hotel when you're out on adventures, so it makes sense to save your money there and invest it elsewhere.
Yeah. So that's what I was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, Felix, do you want to go into your juicy bit about when you arrived after driving for like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 hours straight by yourself?
It was a little bit rainy. That wasn't bad. Athena had keys to the Airbnb. She had already checked in already. And we met up in front of this building. And we let ourselves in. And I discovered that as part of this experience, we would be pretty well literally stepping over our host if we came in after bedtime to use our host's bedroom while our host was on a sofa, which feels weird. I mean, I fancy myself to be a gentleman, and the definition of a gentleman is a person who makes certain that everybody around him is as comfortable, if not more comfortable, than he is. So I'm already seeing that our host is not as comfortable as we are. The accommodations themselves are stereotypically the bohemian collection of wares, purely utility, mattress on floor kind of accommodations. So the price was not high, but it was maybe reasonable for, like,
She's a very
commensurate
minimalist
with
person.
Accommodations. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well-
And we did have a lovely time, and it was romantic. So certainly all of those things added to the experience and the adventure of it. And we certainly love adventure, but I was all too excited to get a proper room the next night.
I think it's funny. I think
It was
it's
very
just
amusing for
your-
Athena, because I'm in my necktie and I'm stepping over as this bohemian artist to go to bed.
Very free love, like seriously a true hippie, I think. In my
Well, it's Austin, Texas, and
yeah. And I think she's a lovely person, and
yeah.
I thought it was funny that Felix was very sensitive.
It was outside of my comfort zone, an adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, people. I don't know. I think maybe it had triggered some.
Bleeps happen. Possibly. You know, this is early in our relationship, so I'm also looking at trying to, you know, be a good version of myself. Not inauthentic or less than genuine, but, you know, just...
What am I showing Athena if I'm just stepping over the host right here? Really? Is that...
it was weird for me. That's...
Okay.
I was fine. I lived. I was fine. We survived together.
I didn't realize how badly this affected him till like a couple years later. He would talk about Hey, let's stay with this Airbnb again. No.
I did discover, just as a silly aside, that as part of the decor was an Eastern Indian bit of textile art, and I had a matching piece in my collection that we gave our host as a gift. So
Yeah, we sent it to
Yeah.
her. That was a nice surprise, I think, for her.
I hope so.
I mean, she's a minimalist too, so like
I
really.
just added to how much stuff she has.
Yeah.
Sorry.
There you go, you hoarder.
Sorry.
You need more stuff. Here, take my junk.
It was a matching companion piece. To,
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right. I didn't even notice. I'm like, cool. I'll send it to her. Sure. I have her address. So yeah. What else? So that wasn't the trip. We did all the sightseeing. We didn't go to San Antonio that time. That was a different trip, right? That was a different road trip.
Yeah.
Mini road trip. Yeah. That was the following year, I think. So yeah, we decided after the festival was over, we driving home, and we stopped in Lubbock.
We did.
Texas. Had some barbecue.
We were exhausted, so we went
Yeah.
on some food and another bed.
Yep. So we did that, and that was lovely.
My daughter worked at the time for a chain of hotels and had for a long time, so it was nice excuse for me to get a hold of her. But I just said, hey, we're on our way to Lubbock, get us a room, and she did. So that was lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it wasn't free. We still had to pay.
Oh, no.
It was like employee discount or something.
We did get a discount.
Yeah, nice discount. Because, I mean, we talked about in the last episode, as artists, we don't really have a lot of money.
No.
So, yeah. So we did Lubbock. Oh, where did we stop? We stopped in Happy, Texas. This was
That was
another
just-
part of the adventure.
A quick little stop in Happy, Texas, which barely exists. I think it's kind of an industrial
I think
but
it's
tiny
just.
community
Oh,
farming,
I don't even think
maybe.
I don't even think it's a town. I don't even know how it's incorporated, and it
I'll
actually
have
has
to
a
look.
comma.
We didn't get very far off the highway.
We just wanted to take a picture in front of the sign "Happy Texas"
That's right.
because that was fun.
Yep,
That
that's
was just a photo we needed in our scrapbook,
right. Sure.
right?
And it was from inside the car, I think, that we saw that we had a joiner.
Nope.
Was it? Oh, we were outside the car.
You
at that
saw
point?
it when we
Oh.
were outside the car, but you didn't tell me till we got in the car.
Oh, that's right. Oh, Athena learned about me that day.
Yep.
I did not warn. I remember more clearly now. I did not say expletive. There is a rattlesnake. I just made sure that we were a good distance away from a rattlesnake, and we got in the car. And then I said, "Look, there's a rattlesnake."
Just
I didn't-
sunbathing
I didn't want to panic anybody.
about, what, 10, 15 feet from where we took the picture?
Yeah, they can't leap that far, so we were okay.
Okay. Yeah. He wanted to put it in a box and take it home. Which he told me later after the trip.
Yeah.
Yeah. He said if I wouldn't have been with him, he would have taken it home.
I might have, in these days, my brain has changed a little bit, and I would be
Good.
not inclined to do that. But
Why? Because it's dangerous?
yes,
Liar. Tell him the real reason.
I'm getting rid of my stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It has nothing to do with danger.
I am
He's a recovering hoarder.
purging.
Yeah.
Hoarder's a little strong, but it is
You like pack rat better?
stereotypically a trait of people in my industry.
Is it?
It really is. Yeah. There are memes about it.
Really?
Yeah.
The artist or the entertainer? 'Cause-
Magicians.
Magicians?
Yeah.
That's funny.
They all have warehouses. Every magician I know in Las Vegas literally has a warehouse.
There's plenty of warehouses all along industrial.
Yeah.
Yeah, so see, that's
What advice would you give to a relatively new couple? Maybe they're not even considering marriage at this point.
or
but,
even living together.
they are going to embark on a taxing road trip. What advice would you give them?
I would suggest patience. Just be very flexible if that's possible for you. And just go with the flow when things don't go as planned, or if stuff comes up, just go with the flow. I mean, if your person is rude or really is testing your values, then maybe it's time to get a flight home and never see that person again.
Possibly.
You know, and that goes for any moment, any date, any.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean,
any-
if I were to take somebody out, when I was single, mind you, but if I were to take somebody out to dinner and I saw them treat our server poorly, I'd probably leave. You know, I might pay for the meal before I left, but they wouldn't know I was gone until I was gone.
He loves to ghost people.
I do ghost.
Which,
So,
yeah. So yeah, I would just say really tune into your flexibleness, your flexibility, and going with the flow, and just be real. That's the other thing too. Like, be real. Give the other person the opportunity to do the same thing, in case you're the nut job.
which is possible. Statistically, you could be the one. That's a good point, and I think that part of being genuine is being generous with the real version of you, because the other person, of course, is trying to learn about you throughout this experience. So you can do them the great service of offering the real you and not a manufactured. If you don't want to be too flexible, if that's uncomfortable for you.
Oh yeah. No, I'm not. Okay. When I'm talking about flexibility, I'm talking about just not being so rigid with plans or expectations. Definitely, like, check your expectations from the beginning. Like, are you expecting a certain thing, and then you'll be disappointed the entire trip if you're expecting. Like, if you're expecting they're going to propose to you in the trip, that could set your entire trip up to be the worst trip ever if you're expecting
doesn't
that. So,
happen,
like,
yeah.
so when I'm talking about flexibility, I'm talking more about, like, expectations.
That's
Definitely
exactly
not,
what I
yeah,
thought. Yeah.
definitely not boundaries. You want to keep your boundaries if you have not been in bed together yet, and you're not ready yet, or whatever the boundaries are. Definitely keep your boundaries, because those are important. Those are what keep you safe and keep you healthy, mentally and physically. And then values. So I think road trips definitely show you what values are important to you, and if there's stuff, maybe your values don't match, and then it might just be a really rough relationship if you continue.
Yep, I was going to say communication is key, and
Yeah.
what better chance is there for you to clearly communicate with each other when you're seated this close to one another in a metal and glass box for hours and hours and hours on end?
Yeah. Like
Plenty of room for communication and
storytelling.
Yeah, getting to know each other. It's a wonderful exercise in building a relationship, discovering things about each other. I think road trips are a prescription we will
They should
dole
be.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It should be a prescription for any. I don't read any of those whatever magazines, those lady magazines. I don't read any of them because I think they're all crap. But it should be that this is something you should do, not to win your person over, but to develop another layer of that foundation we talked about in previous episodes, like, building more on a very stable, beautiful relationship like we have. So, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that enough tips, you think? Do you have any tips?
I think that's pretty good. I think we've communicated it well enough that you must understand exactly what we mean by the value of taking a road trip as a couple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next one we should do, I just realized, was when we flew to Paris, international travel.
That's a different experience altogether.
A whole different adventure.
Especially to a place where English, being our only language, became an additional challenge to navigation.
Yeah, so maybe we should do an episode about that.
We'll do that.
International travel.
We'll do that.
But yeah, if you have any questions or comments about road trips, anything we didn't cover, we would, all of these topics we do on these episodes are all forever open. We never close a topic because, well...
we never end a conversation.
Yeah, the conversations
take breaks.
keep going. Yeah, we take breaks, or we sparkly scroll to the next topic.
Change subject.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, yeah. When's our next road trip?
We don't have one scheduled. We're going to schedule a road trip.
Mm-hmm. That'll be fun. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we hope you enjoy your next road trip. Listen to all the One Big Caper podcasts on your next road trip. That's another.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be a good way to binge them all.
Sure.
Because this is episode 15? Yeah, 15.
So.
Yeah. So we have a few for you to binge.
We do.
Yeah.
Keep in touch with us.
Yeah.
Let us know any of your questions. Find more about us on onebigcaper.com. And remember that this is both a podcast available anywhere and a YouTube channel, so you can see what we look like when we're having these discussions.
Yeah. Thanks for watching and listening.
We can't keep doing this without you. Give us just a little bit of your time by subscribing, sharing, rating, or talking about One Big Caper with someone else. We truly appreciate your support.
We want to hear your stories. Visit onebigcaper.com to get to know us even more.
This episode of One Big Caper was published in 2022. All rights to broadcast in whole or in part are the property of Gazelles Productions, LLC.